Tonight, we're going to talk about the NYPD Warrant Squad, the very same squad that I happen to work for over my 10 years in warrants. The arrest of Nikki Stone in Manhattan that caused a whole slew of drama and misinformation on all of the Twitter spheres and all over the internet. I got Dr. DrDarrinPorcher here, a very big fan favorite of the DutyRon channel, my good friend from the NYPD.
Fan favorite.
Huge fan favorite. And not only that, he is almost 30 years our friendship, a tight friendship, a bond from the brotherhood. I spent Saturday with him and his beautiful better half at the pro police rally. He gave a great speech. I'm going to show that in a premiere broadcast separate from everything. But Dr. Darrin D is with us here tonight, and I appreciate him being live. Now I had my camera just went out on my camera. I can't believe it. Give me 2 seconds, Darrin. Talk to the troops. Talk to the troops.
Well, first off, I'm happy to be on, especially in the wake of the anti-cop sentiment that's been plaguing the nation.
Yes.
More specific to what's happening here in New York. As you mentioned at the top of the order, we had a situation where there was a transgender woman that was taken into custody by the NYPD Warrant Squad, and people were up in arms because an unmarked van was used, coupled with officers in plain clothes, to take her into custody. The NYPD Warrant Unit functions as an undercover unit. I shouldn't even say an undercover unit, but a plainclothes unit, whereas the officers are in plain clothes and they used unmarked vans. Right. You're knocking on people's doors at 3 a.m. in the morning and you're arresting them for their failure to appear in court. So as a result of that, these are surreptitious individuals that you need to use the art of skandongery to catch up to these people. And it was just it was shameful behavior, to say the least, on the part of our elected officials that had castigated the officers based on what they did. I heard Mayor de Blasio stated that this wasn't the right time. This wasn't the right place. If you have probable cause to arrest someone, and that is what the warrant introduces, it allows you. It's a tool that states this is the person that needs to be taken into custody. There's no room for this. It's not open for discussion. You have to do what you have to do to take that person into custody, provided you can do it safe and sound. This was a situation where this individual was in a public place during broad daylight. This was a great opportunity for police to capture this individual and bring them into custody. So as a result of that, Mayor de Blasio felt that this was, like I mentioned, the wrong place and the wrong time. And he's reflecting on what happened in Portland in the wake of federal law enforcement that utilized vans that unmarked vans, where they captured individuals and took them into custody. This is police work. The mayor is not a law enforcement practitioner, nor is Governor Cuomo, because I heard him make mention of his dissatisfaction with the application of arrest in connection with the situation. These are people that are not practitioners. These are people, when I say these are people, meaning the two elected officials, the governor and the mayor, are individuals that are bowing to the sentiment of the minority that has the loudest voice in the building, and that's these people that are protesting. They're not understanding the silent majority wants law enforcement. They are looking to introduce a level of accountability, but the mayor and the governor are not seeing that. They're looking through a monolithic lens that gives credence to the protesting that has been plaguing our city, and has subsequently been leading to a stage of acrimony that people in the city are sick and tired of. And you're seeing more and more protesters that are being injured by the silent majority, such as in Texas, for example. In no way, shape, or form do I condone committing to a wrongful act against a protester. Like in Austin, Texas, we had a situation where one of the protesters was run over. We don't condone that behavior. No. But you have the majority of citizens that are sick and tired of this behavior that is plaguing our society with no accountability. People feel as if they can act with impunity and protest at any given time. The First Amendment affords you the right to protest. I'm all for it. However, it's a problem when you're breaking laws and you're impeding on the liberties of other individuals. So when you look at a lot of these protests, you have individuals that are impeding on the rights of law-abiding citizens.
Yeah.
No one is speaking on our behalf. And that, look, you know what? Your rights are being impeded upon. And this seems to be the growing sentiment of the Democratic leadership that has been running the large cities in the United States, such as Chicago, Portland, New York City, Los Angeles. And no one gives a damn. And it's subsequently leading to the erosion of a quality of life that we had that was sound in this country for years.
Yeah, you know, and to circle back on all the things that you're saying here is like, we worked so hard as police officers in the 90s and the police officers before us in the 80s to eradicate the crack epidemic, to take control back of our streets from these hoodlums that were out there running drugs and shooting up people. We went from 2,200 homicides in 1991 to just a couple of hundred and under 200 just in 2019 alone, right? So we've gone now to, I think, 938 shootings from January 1st of 2020 to current day. And that is somewhere around a 600% increase in shootings. So we have a situation that is spiraling out of control at the hands of a Democratic mayor and a governor. We have the bail reform, the wake of COVID-19, the George Floyd. It's like a perfect storm, but it's not an excuse to handcuff our police officers, the men and women that are out there. And that's exactly what's happening here. And protesters, rioters, perpetrators, people that are not living their lives right, they take advantage of the situation. I'm just going to show everybody, Darrin, a quick clip from a few videos that I had chosen here. So I'm going to just pause off of the screen. Darrin and I will leave for a minute and you guys could watch a quick clip. Darrin did a news piece on WPIX Channel 11 just this evening. So I'm going to switch over to that, guys.
Officers yelled insults. Is now free, released on a desk appearance ticket. But the way she was taken into custody by the Warrant squad is dividing the city.
I think it was the wrong time and the wrong place to effectuate that arrest.
But some say the time or place was not the issue. It was how it went down. NYPD officers in plain clothes and in an unmarked van arresting Stone spells Portland to some, including Councilwoman Carlina Rivera. Stone's arrest happened in her district.
The actions were just too eerily similar to what is going on in terms of the unfettered violence that federal agents in Portland had.
One of several offenses, Stone surveillance camera. One of Stone.
Peaceful protesters.
Police say this is Stone, a transgender.
Okay, so Nikki Stone, who was placed under arrest. Everybody here, if you haven't seen it, I mean, you're living under a rock. It's gone viral on Twitter. Nikki Stone is a transgender woman who was vandalizing New York City Police Department cameras and lighting fires in garbage cans and causing a ruckus. She basically was a rioter. She was not a protester. She was participating in riots. And this is her scaling a camera pole. There's hundreds, there's probably thousands of NYPD cameras at very strategic spots. And it broadcasts the signals up to the operations center on Police Plaza. And she was vandalizing and putting paint. What you're going to watch now is the crime that this woman was committing on numerous different occasions, and she was placed under arrest by the Warrant squad. The Warrant squad is a unit that I worked in for over a decade, and that's how we take people into custody. We get a warrant issued by a judge for either a bench warrant or an arrest warrant. She happened to have an arrest warrant. They went out and got her. And that is a standard way to grab somebody. You don't give them an invite and say, hey, guess what? We're looking for you. We would like you to come and surrender at your convenience. It just doesn't happen that way, ladies and gentlemen. When we go out, these are the tactics that we use for our safety. for the men and women in the warrant squad, and also for the general public. We're not going to go and let a criminal know, hey, guess what? Just at your convenience, we'd like you to come in and surrender to us. It just doesn't work that way. Hey, we have a warrant for your arrest. When you're done rioting, would you please report to the warrant squad so we can bring you to jail? It just doesn't work that way. And this is how it's been effectively done for years and years and decades. And this is a safe way to make a quick apprehension on the street. So I'm going to let you see this undesirable do her work.
A woman spray painting a police surveillance camera, one of several offenses Stone is accused of. But Stone's mother says the officers were out of control. And what you can't see on the video, she says in a statement, she experienced inhumane treatment as the officers yelled insults like act like a normal expletive human being and not like an animal.
It was her behavior that created the environment that existed. The officers walked over to her, and if she would have merely placed her hands behind her back, she would have been handcuffed and removed from the location.
Police agree this is not Porcher.
Well said, Dr. Porcher. And I got to tell you, it's common sense here. Common sense prevails in a situation like this. And of course, her mother's going to say she was treated like an animal. But let me tell you this, they got her, they apprehended her. There was no real physical struggle other than her falling to the ground. They scooped her up, they placed her inside the van, handcuffed her, and brought her in to go through the process. She was processed and released within, I think, 12 hours, not even. So she was in and out of jail. No bail, no nothing. They just gave her a slap on the wrist and sent her on her way.
But it is police work.
It's something that's being missed here is that this person that was taken into custody was putting innocent citizens' life at risk. And I'll tell you how. By damaging those cameras in the area of City Hall, it now prevents police from accessing what's happening on the street. So let's say hypothetically someone is getting robbed, they're getting raped, they're getting shot, they're being victimized.
Right.
Those cameras are a significant level of intelligence for police to make the assessment for deployment purposes of officers to those particular areas.
Correct.
So if you subsequently destroy the eyes and ears of police in that neighborhood, then the criminals can run roughshod. We need to be able to assess the pulse of what's happening in order to effectively police or protect the public. And this individual was egregiously going out of their way to remove that ability for police in protecting citizens.
100%. Those cameras, ladies and gentlemen, just in case those of you who are just joining, those cameras that are strategically planted throughout the New York City area, throughout the 5 boroughs, but primarily in Manhattan, there are some major terrorist targets as well. And those cameras are sending the signal, like I said, directly up to One Police Plaza in the operations center, where there's literally at certain moments hundreds of detectives, dozens and dozens of detectives that on certain days, like Times Square, when we have the ball drop on New Year's Eve, when there's major parades or major events in New York, those cameras are the eyes and ears of law enforcement. We get to see movement on the ground for the New York City Marathon and things of that nature. And Darrin so well put that together. She's effectively taking public safety into her own hands with spraying paint over and defacing and vandalizing New York City Police Department property. And again, it's a really terrible situation. Annie's Pilates, Meg Lowe, Matty Boy Sully, all of my Patreon supporters, the channel members, I thank you so much for being in here. Let me let the rest of this continue. Let's listen to Dr. Darrin. This was earlier on WPIX Channel 11.
Sound practice. NYPD Warrant Squad is always in plain clothes, and they have unmarked vehicles. That's just what they do in terms of their apprehensions.
And that's the point. The tactics are why some are looking for more police reform, including Congressman.
All right, I'm not going to play this because this is nonsense. This is gibberish. Let me play for you guys quickly one of Dr. Darrin's. You want to set this up, Darrin? Let everybody know the project that you did for the coalition.
Okay, in the wake of the anti-police sentiment and the rhetoric that's plaguing police officers, we have cops that are functioning in an ecosystem of hate. And a lot of this is being fueled by politicians that have been unwilling to place a moratorium on the attacks on police officers. When I say unwilling to place a moratorium on the attacks against police officers, meaning they are looking to regress police officers, defund police by $1 billion, where if there was ever a need for additional police, it's now. We have precipitous drops in personnel as a result of people retiring. However, the attrition has not been backfilled because the mayor has recently canceled the police academy class that was set to go in and backfill a lot of these officers that were leaving. But in addition to that, we have a mayor, that being Mayor de Blasio, that is implementing policies that are failed policies that work for the progressive left and the people that are criminals, and victimize the silent majority of people that want public safety. The social contract affords us protections as citizens, and law enforcement is at the forefront of that. But this is constantly being eroded, and the police are under siege as a result of that. So what I did was I did a public service announcement with all 5 of the police unions here in New York City: the PBA, the DEA, which is the Detectives Endowment Association, the SBA, which is the Sergeants Benevolent Association, the LBA, which is the Lieutenants Benevolent Association, and the CEA, which is the Captains Endowment Association. Those 5 unions pooled together, and I basically I presented a public service announcement to the public so people can understand how the 20 plus years of effective policing that has created precipitous drops in crime has subsequently eroded in a matter of 3 months based on the failed policies of the de Blasio administration. So without further ado, DutyRon, I want you to take it from there and introduce the video.
Okay, this is Dr. Darrin Porcher speaking on behalf of all the police unions in the New York City metropolitan area, and I'm proud to play this for you guys. If it will play.
In my 20-year tenure in the NYPD, I was a part of a phenomenal crime reduction strategy that made New York City the safest big city in the country. Mayor de Blasio has single-handedly reversed all of the progress that the NYPD has accomplished in a matter of 3 months. Cops are under siege, the public is under siege, and nothing is being done from City Hall. Crime has spiraled out of control. Shootings and homicides are up 400%. We are now living in a state of anarchy. In the death of George Floyd, we were all upset. We were outraged. We all believed that police reform was a necessary antidote. However, it needs to be done smart and sound. The elected officials are doing any and everything in their power to recede the power of police. They've since eradicated the anti-crime units in the precinct, causing people to run roughshod with guns in our communities. The recently enacted chokehold legislation in New York City didn't go a step too far, it went miles too far. So if you touch a person's chest or if you touch a person's back, that officer can now be prosecuted by merely doing what's necessary to take a person into custody. The NYPD has been defunded by $1 billion. There's been a psychological impact that criminals believe that they can act with impunity. The people in the communities want to be protected. They want public safety. We need the elected officials to stand behind police officers in the protection of the 8.5 million residents in New York. Let the crime fighters handle the crime surge. You have to listen to the practitioners in law enforcement.
That was unbelievable. I got to play it one more time, even though Darrin doesn't want me to.
In my 20-year tenure in the NYPD, I was a part of a phenomenal crime reduction strategy that made New York City the safest big city in the country. Mayor de Blasio has single-handedly reversed all of the progress that the NYPD has accomplished in a matter of 3 months. Cops are under siege, the public is under siege, and nothing is being done from City Hall. Crime has spiraled out of control. Shootings and homicides are up 400%. We are now living in a state of anarchy. In the death of George Floyd, we were all upset. We were outraged. We all believed that police reform was a necessary antidote. However, it needs to be done smart and sound. The elected officials are doing any and everything in their power to recede the power of police. They've since eradicated the anti-crime units in the precinct, causing people to run roughshod with guns in our communities. The recently enacted chokehold legislation in New York City didn't go a step too far, it went miles too far. So if you touch a person's chest or if you touch a person's back, that officer can now be prosecuted by merely doing what's necessary to take a person into custody. The NYPD has been defunded by $1 billion. There's been a psychological impact that criminals believe that they can act with impunity. The people in the communities want to be protected. They want public safety. We need the elected officials to stand behind police officers in the protection of the 8.5 million residents in New York. Let the crime fighters handle the crime surge. You have to listen to the practitioners in law enforcement.
That was so well said that I played it twice.
In my 20-year tenure,
let me get back on to Darrin. What a service that you provided there for those unions, and I'm honored that you did that. I mean, for me, it's it couldn't have come from a better guy, and your message is clear and concise. We need our police officers. We need our men and women out there fighting to reduce crime, because all of us good law-abiding citizens, we don't want to deal with the evil. We have our police to deal with the evil. You and I know that because we did it for 20 plus years. So at the end of the day, very well said. I see all the comments. Everybody is here saying amazing, amazing, amazing. And a bunch of thank yous are coming across the screen. I know you can't see it because you're not looking at the chat, but Dr. Darrin is definitely appreciative of all the support. And I say, let's run for mayor. Let's get you on the ticket. I'm all for Dr. DrDarrinPorcher, New York City mayor. Forget about this Eric Adams fella. I'd like to see you get on there and lead the troops, lead us into safety. But yeah, it's crazy what's going on. And Darrin, I wanted to get your take on what you feel about what's going on over in Portland and what's going on with the federal troops. Now there's reports that the vice president has agreed to Thursday of next week withdraw the troops, the federals that are guarding the federal properties in Portland out by next Thursday. What's your feeling on that?
Well, it bifurcates in two directions. What's happening in Portland now, they've come to an agreement that the federal law enforcement agents that are currently in Portland will be leaving. And what's going to happen is they're going to be switched out with the state police. So the state police are subsequently going to provide the same fortifications that the federal law enforcement officers provided. So that's something that's in transition as we speak. In addition to that, in Seattle, they're also looking to transition the federal law enforcement officers out of Seattle as well, because there was a deployment of federal law enforcement officers into Seattle. However, what's happening in Chicago is very different. In Chicago, it's investigative and targeted enforcement. So that's going to consist of the DEA, FBI, and ATF. And the focus is gang violence and the meteoric rise in gun violence that's been plaguing Chicago. So that seems like that's kind of still moving forward, which it should be. And it's basically federal task forces that are operating in Chicago. But what's interesting is the police chief of Detroit has, he's requesting federal assistance or federal boots on the ground in Detroit to assist them in the violence that's plaguing that city. So it's something it's a necessary resource that can be applied if you have smart heads of these cities. They can collaborate with federal law enforcement to ensure a
See,
better prominence
yeah.
in that in those communities in connection with public safety.
Correct, correct. And you know, I saw this with Seattle's police chief. I don't know her name, the female. I think it's Carmen. Anyways, I don't remember her last name, but she got on and spoke and said that she needs extra reinforcement. She needs help there. She is kind of thrown the towel in and realizes that her own police force can't handle what's been created by the mayor and by the governor of the state of Oregon. The you know, these people who are rioting and that are, there is no question in my mind and no question in anybody that's sensible's mind that this isn't about George Floyd anymore in Seattle and some of these major cities. These are just people who are trying to take advantage of an opportunity, and the opportunity is there and in existence because of the powers that be, meaning the governor, the mayor, the city council. They are allowing, they're encouraging this type of behavior due to the policies that they're putting forward on the men and women who are there, who are sworn to uphold law and order. And that's the terrible situation, is that people need to get out and vote. And when it's time to vote out the mayor of these different cities, the New York City mayor is done with his term. Now we just have to come up with somebody who's going to be sensible and knows how to run a city. And then, you know, with all of these other major cities, you need to just vote and get these people out of there. You know, we know what we got to do come November, but we know what these people have to do in these cities to make, because it's not all about the president, it's all about the people, the governors and the mayors of these major cities. Atlanta is going crazy, and you look at what we had go on in Kansas City. You know, it was out of control, and the federal authorities came in there and they kind of quelled things down, and now you don't hear too much about it. But it is a difficult situation. There's a couple of questions coming in, Darrin. I just want to say quickly, Sandra Beatty says, thank you, Darrin, for being in here. Jeep Girl says, Dr. Darrin Porcher for mayor. A couple other people are saying, here's my good friend from Ireland, Dr. Darrin Porcher. What a man, what a gentleman. So yeah, a lot of compliments. I don't see anything about me though. I don't know. I don't understand what's going on. I don't know what's going on. You're stealing the show, Dr. D. You're stealing the show.
I don't know about that. It's
anybody
your
else
show.
With any questions?
You have the platform.
Yeah. Anybody else with questions for Dr. Darrin? And for those of you who received the petition that I asked you guys to sign for the 9/11, my cousin Ralph Liccardi was murdered in the September 11th attack. My first cousin Ralph was a local 3 electrician. He went to work on that fateful day and never returned home. We never recovered any of his remains from that site. And his wife, his 2 grown children, his mother, his father is no longer with us, my uncle, but his mother, his wife, his 2 grown children, his brother, his sister, they all want to go down there and be able to pay respects to the place where their brother and their family, my family member, was murdered by radical Islamic terrorists. So the governor and the mayor made a decision that the families can't go to the World Trade Center site. So I asked everyone to please sign that petition. I'll put it again here down below in the link so you guys can sign it. Thank you, Dr. Darrin, for signing it, and all my friends here for signing that petition. I want my family to be able to go down there and at least spend a little bit of the morning there and have the names read. We don't need the whole public and make it a big event, but let the family members who lost loved ones go down there. I think it's reasonable. We have all kinds of protests and things going on. As our mayor said in New York City, everything is on hold except for the Black Lives Matter and the movement, the protests that are going on.
Absolutely right.
You know, and you know, if he could do that for them, I think in the largest attack on our country, I think that he should open up the World Trade Center site to just family members to go down and pay respects and spend time with their loved ones down at the World Trade Center site. So thank you for that. Meg Lowe from Southern Cal says, thank you for doing this. Dylan, good to see you. Thank you. I shared it onto my YouTube video share group in my police and crime chat group, and I will share it onto my Twitter. So I definitely need the signatures, and a lot of people want that signed. Dr. D, you got anything else for the troops?
No, I just say that, hey, look, you know what? It was a pleasure. I say a pleasure. It was a pleasure and my honor to partake in DutyRon's podcast, because I think that you speak to issues of significance that are plaguing law enforcement and the silent majority of people that have been overrun in connection with public safety that hasn't been addressed by elected officials. So it's your voice that matters, that gets the right messaging out there to the right people, so we can amass as a group and we can coalesce behind an ideology that is sound to take us to the next level. Because if not, we're just going to keep going backwards at 100 miles an hour.
Right. And none of us want anarchy. Nobody wants to have cities and states run by a bunch of criminals. And really, that's the layman's terms of what's going, the direction that we're going in. We're giving too much freedoms to people who are not abiding by the law. And we have to support our local law enforcement throughout the country, not just here in New York City. We need all of the men and women of law enforcement to know that you're there, us good citizens, us law-abiding citizens. We back them up, we stand by them. I came across a New York City Police Department 101 precinct police car today in my travels back home from work, and I rolled my window down and I didn't say who I was. I just said, "Stay safe, guys, and thank you for what you do." And it was two young rookies in a patrol car. And you know what they said through that bulletproof glass, that little spot where they could speak out? They rolled the window down and they said, "Thank you, thank you." And they're appreciative of it. So if you see your local sheriff, you see your local police officer, you see your local constable or whatever patrols your part of the country, because we have people all out throughout the United States watching here, and everybody throughout the world for that matter, go and thank your local law enforcement. Thank them for what they do, because they put their lives on the line day in and day out to protect our freedoms, our safety. Dr. Darrin and I did it for 20 years. We know what it's all about. He worked as an undercover. He worked in many different areas. I worked in the Warrant squad, the very same squad that was a viral video yesterday going out there. Those guys did a great job where they were receiving rocks and objects being pelted at them. The media didn't cover that. The elected officials didn't talk about that. All we have is the governor saying, well, this is outrageous behavior. Governor Andrew Cuomo said it's outrageous behavior. He's a jagaloon. He's a clown. And you got Mayor de Blasio. You got Mayor de Blasio saying that the police should have done it in a different way. Last time I checked, when I took an oath and raised my right hand and swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States, at no way, shape, or form was there any kind of wording in that make it convenient for the criminal. You don't effect an arrest at the criminal's bequest. You don't do something for a criminal, someone that's broken the law, to make it convenient for them. When you can make the arrest, you make it. When I had 100 cases on my caseload in the Warrant squad, if I went a weekend where I was off on an RDO for Saturday and Sunday, I used to pray that one of my guys in my caseload or girls that I was looking for didn't kill somebody, because if they did, the chief of detectives would be calling me down in his office, and that was Resnick at that time, and nobody liked to speak to Joe Resnick. Is that his name? Joe? Was it? Yeah, was it Joe?
Yeah, and it was Resnick.
His last name was Resnick. I don't remember his first name, but
he was in the detective bureau.
Yeah, he was my boss, and nobody wanted to go speak to Resnick because he was a real prick. And the first questions that get asked to you is, why didn't you get this guy? Why didn't you apprehend this guy? He just stabbed 3 people or just shot 3 people. So when you have, and also too, one of my friends from the union spoke to me today, and it said that someone from One Police Plaza sent these guys out to make that arrest. They saw this girl on the cameras, they knew that she was around, and they wanted an arrest made. So the powers that be, it didn't come from the detectives, it came from the supervisors. But anyways, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for joining. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for anybody who has become a channel member, anyone who becomes a Patreon supporter. Share this live stream. Share it onto all your social media. Follow Dr. Darrin Porcher on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. I think his Facebook, I'll link it below, is different. I think it's
it's DrDarrinPorcher, but Twitter is where I really have a lot of this stuff. That's probably
so
the best
follow
place.
him
if
on.
you go to Dr. DrDarrinPorcher at Twitter is the best place to go to.
Yes, follow Dr. Darrin for all of his social media and all of his media pieces that he does. He does a wealth of a lot of different stuff all over the metropolitan area, and his stuff goes national as well. So definitely check him out. I will link everything for Dr. Darrin down below in the description. Subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, give it a thumbs up for me and Darrin. I look forward to having this fine professional on my live stream, my good friend, my fellow co-worker, but more importantly, a great lifelong friend, Dr. Darrin. Thank you so much for coming on. Guys, everybody have a good evening and stay safe.
Ron, I just want to say, tune in to Court TV tonight at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be on Court TV tonight at 9:30. And at 11 p.m. tonight, I'm going to be on CBS. That's Channel 2, New York City local, if you can watch. And at 11 o'clock, I'm going to be discussing what Ron and I were discussing in this segment. So you'll have you already have forward information prior to going into the interview.
Excellent. I'll link all of that below in my description down below this video. And I'll also share all of Darrin's links after he does his video. But I'm going to I'll watch at 9. You said 9 p.m., right?
9:30.
9:30.
Court TV, yes.
At 11 o'clock, CBS 2.
CBS News, right.
Okay,
CBS
great,
2 News.
great. We look forward to seeing you on there, Darrin. Thank you so much, guys. We will catch you on the next live stream. I have a lot of things going on. I've got the Blue Lives Matter president who's going to come on a video with me, and I'm going to be talking with him. And I got a lot of other good things in the cooker. So we'll see you guys on the next one. Love and respect from DutyRon and Dr. Darrin.